Hey guys, welcome back to more relationship stories. In this video, a mother of one thought she knew her husband until a face recognition search revealed that he had been secretly monetizing their private life online. The police raid that followed exposed crimes that shocked everyone. And the first story is titled, I sent my husband to prison for 20 years, from r/relationships. So I spent years thinking my husband was an amazing guy, but I recently learned something that made me question the entire marriage. I was hanging out with some friends and one of them was talking about how it was fun to Google yourself now with the modern technology of face recognition. I remember Googling myself when I was like in middle school just to see if anything came up. I think it was a trend back then, but for all I know, it is something that never ended. After typing in my name and searching my face, I was met with a lot of results, some of which are things that I expected. My various social media profiles and a couple things related to the company that I work for. Mainly random articles or photos from a company party where I got tagged. Nothing too out of the ordinary until I turned Safe Search off. I was getting links to some very dirty websites and it was finding me based on my name. Despite knowing that my search algorithm would be totally ruined from that point on, I started clicking on the links and I was not happy about the things I was seeing. It was videos of what was very clearly me and very clearly in my house. Most of the videos were dirty and involved the most intimate moments of my life with my husband. I don't think I need to go into too much detail, and honestly, I don't want to, since the idea of it and all the people that have seen it made me sick to my stomach. Still, I couldn't stop clicking on these videos and trying to see how far back they went. The earliest I could find was from 2 years ago. What I also noticed was that my husband would look directly into the camera at times during the videos. He knew that the camera was there and it did not take a rocket scientist for me to put 2 and 2 together. He had hidden cameras, recorded us and put it online. Suddenly, him asking for some more frisky things the last couple years started to make more sense to me. He just wanted more content that would get views. I told my friends what happened when I searched for myself and could not calm down or stop myself from crying. They were furious and told me that I had to talk to my husband and find out what he was thinking filming me without asking or even telling me what happened. I reported all of the videos, but I knew the truth of the situation. I was on the internet fully exposed and there was no way I could scrub the internet clean of it. I did not want to imagine telling my family or what my mother would say. We live in a pretty heavily Christian area and I couldn't imagine walking into church and thinking that somebody there might have seen me naked while online. My husband came home from work and I immediately started just yelling at him. I did not plan on going full crazy and wanted to just speak normally, but I couldn't. I was too angry to be rational and instead just started demanding to know what he was thinking, filming me and posting all of those videos. You would think that upon being caught, he would at least pretend to feel bad about it, but instead, he was defending himself. He told me that I did not need to worry and that nobody we knew were ever gonna see those videos, that he was expressing himself and I should support him, and now we could make better videos that I knew. I told him that if he had any videos that he didn't post, I wanted them deleted immediately. This was beyond anything he had done before, and I forced him to show me anything else he had. He had a bunch of videos that he didn't post, but that didn't mean that it wasn't still an invasion of my privacy. What he didn't think about was me looking at all the videos showed that he had other women in our bed with him too, and he recorded that as well. I think it was the worst possible way I could find out that my husband was not faithful. I did not think things could get worse, but he showed me a video that was recent. In the video, he was doing things to my body and I was not even conscious. I had taken a sleeping pill that night, as I did sometimes due to insomnia. He knew I would be knocked out beyond anything and took advantage of that fact. When I told him that I didn't consent to him doing any of this, especially when I was asleep, he had the worst response I ever heard. He told me that being married was consent and that I was overreacting to the entire thing. I left the house and went to go and stay with my parents along with my 7-year-old son. I could not even look at him and I sure as hell didn't trust myself to be asleep near him anymore. Telling my parents what he did was hard and my father especially was furious. He wanted to go right over there and knock him into another planet. I was able to stop him because I did not want my dad getting arrested, and honestly my husband would be the kind of guy to press charges. The fact he didn't do anything about me taking my son amazed me. I spent days just crying and looking like I had the flu or something. I refused to answer any calls from him, and when he tried to show up, my father scared him off. I felt a little bit like I was acting like a baby, but I just couldn't bring myself to face him. All the trust I had was just gone after knowing what he did. Hell, for all I knew, he had been doing things to unconscious me even before he was posting videos. The only thing I knew for sure was that I wanted a divorce, and I was seriously considering pressing charges against him at this point. And yeah guys, just to quickly interject here, I feel so bad for OP. What a terrible husband. If you would be in this situation, what would you suggest OP to do? Let me know in the comments, and while you're at it, please don't forget to like the video if you enjoy these relationship stories, because that would help me tremendously. Thank you so much. So I got a good lawyer who was very patient as I kept pausing and having a hard time saying something out loud to a total stranger what he did to me. My lawyer told me that if I wanted the divorce to be stronger, then pressing charges for assault would be a good idea. For now though, I was gonna serve him with the divorce papers and go to the house while he was at work to get all my stuff. During which I was checking the corners of the house for cameras and found that he had several hidden cameras. My guess is that I was being monitored by him on top of everything else. I felt so dirty, like I needed to shower for hours just to try and get a little bit clean. I made sure to take everything that belonged to me and smash all of the cameras, leaving the mess in a pile with a note telling him that he was a dirty pervert. Now that I was single again, I knew I had to go out and find a job. I'd been out of work for a few years playing the amazing housewife for him. I had a degree though and experience, and getting interviews was not a problem for me. The issue was that any background search was going to show them those horrible videos which I couldn't get taken down. They could not say it outright, but I knew that an area as Christian as this one would not want somebody in videos like that working for them. I was unemployed, living with my parents now, and miserable. My siblings also found out around this time, which just mortified me even more. They wanted to kill him as well, but there was something else in the air around my family. I think that they were silently judging me for the things I did in the video, since I was seen to them as a good Christian girl. I never thought people, especially my family, would find out that I tried a few risky things in what I thought was the privacy of my own bedroom. Around this point was when the sadness turned into white-hot fury. The divorce was going through, but even getting half of everything he had was not gonna be enough for me. I decided to press charges against him and show him that I was not gonna just sit around and let him win. I had a good case against him, with the public videos being the main focus. Even if he could try and lie his way to say that some of them were consensual, the one where I was totally unconscious would be a bit of a smoking gun. Around this time, he started to call and text me constantly in hopes that he could either beg or scare me to drop the charges, telling me that it was only gonna cause my name to be attached to more things, and he doubted I would ever find a job or another man if I seemed like a girl that wanted to cry wolf. The more he talked, the more I regretted ever marrying him to begin with. I swear that before all of this, he appeared to be a very nice and normal man. Me finding out what he did just seemed to flip that switch to the real him coming out, and once it was out there, he could not go back to hiding it. I was texting him back saying that he ever really cared he wouldn't have hidden cameras in the bedroom. He replied telling me that me not knowing just made the entire thing more authentic and how realism is important in filmmaking. Yes, he called the dirty videos he posted online filmmaking, like he was frickin' Spike Lee or Stanley Kubrick or something. The good news for me was that the more stupid crap he said in the text messages to me just meant more proof I had in court against him, since he now admitted that the cameras were hidden and couldn't lie, saying I knew about it the entire time. I think there was a single moment where he realized, or his lawyer explained to him, that he was totally screwed. Where nothing he did or say was gonna fix anything, and unless I dropped the charges, he was going to prison. His tone changed, and suddenly he knew what he did was wrong and wanted to work things out with me, and forgot about all this court crap. Since if I didn't want to press the matter, then the state might just drop the case. He even said that he could take the videos down, telling me that there was no harm and no foul if he took them down, since nobody would be able to see them when looking me up anymore. I replied by sending him the copies that were made and posted all over different sites, asking him how he planned to get all of those taken down, and if he was dumb enough to think that he could get rid of something once it was out on the internet. Around this time, I was also being contacted by his family, who were under the impression that I was going after him because he cheated or something. I set the record straight and told them exactly what he had done. His own mother seemed mortified, and I was worried she was gonna have a heart attack or something with how she was breathing over the phone. As much as I hated my husband, I had nothing against his mother. Well, we ended up going to court, and as some last attempt Hail Mary, he was trying to say that the only reason I was suing him was because I was bitter about the divorce and that I wanted to get more money out of him. His lawyer tried desperately to say that maybe it was not me in the videos and that I had no proof he was the one that posted them or hit the camera, that my ex-husband could just as easily be a victim as well in all of this. One of the things I was able to do because of the lawsuit was my lawyer was able to get a warrant for the house, in order to find any other videos he may have had of me on his computer or anywhere else in the house. They did not find that, but they did find something way worse. On his computer there were other dirty videos. These did not have me in them or even him. Instead, the videos were of our son, him naked in the shower, tub, or just in his own room. Looking further, some of these videos ended up on some very inappropriate websites for some very disturbing people to watch. This was beyond anything else, and he was now being charged with possession/production of illegal videos of children. I don't want to get into too many details about what he had done to my son and the questioning that he had to deal with because of his father, just know that it was disturbing and he was basically grooming his own son. I was sick when I heard about what they had found out. The text messages he had sent me directly went against that though, and when he was put on the stand under oath, he must not have had it in him to lie. He admitted that he placed the cameras and that I had no idea they existed, that at first he recorded the two of us for his own pleasure, but then started putting it online. Truly thinking that since we were married, he did not need any consent to film me, post it online, or even have me be conscious. When questioned about our son, he just flat out denied doing any of that on purpose, that the cameras were not meant to pick that up. Total crap that nobody was gonna believe for a second. I explained how hard my life was now that the videos were out there, and simply searching my name would bring them up, and no amount of apologizing would be able to take that away. I really did not even need to give testimony because of how screwed he was. Between what he did to me, but especially what he did with filming our son, he ended up getting sentenced to 20 years in prison. He was not gonna get out until he was 55, and if what I hear about groomers in prison is true, he might not even last those 20 years. I was happy that I didn't need to worry about him anymore, but I was still stuck with the consequences of everything. It took me a long time to find a job that either didn't search me up or actually followed the law and didn't use what they saw against me as a person. I was able to get a job, but before long I saw co-workers whispering about me, and I knew that they had found out about the videos. Between the divorce and him going to prison, I was able to gain ownership of the house. Even with the cameras gone, I still feel weird, like somebody is just constantly watching me. I don't know if that feeling will ever go away, but I hope that it does. I also feel extremely protective of leaving my son with anybody, no matter how much I trust them. I feel like I failed as a mother in a way because of what happened. If I can say one thing to everybody reading this, it is that doing a Google search for yourself or family members might be a good idea, because who knows what you or others might find. And the next one is titled, "I'm finally ready to leave my husband, but he cannot understand why." And by the way guys, if you enjoy these relationship stories, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. So my story is probably the opposite of anyone here, but for me it made sense even though it doesn't for my husband and the rest of the family. I needed to write somewhere to see if there's anybody out there who understands me, or am I, as anyone around me believes, going mental? So I found this from a YouTuber. My husband cheated on me 5 years ago on a work trip. His colleague sent me the intercourse tape she made. Apparently they slept together. So she used the tape to get him to start a relationship with her, and when he refused, she exposed him to me. I was in utter shock. This just couldn't happen to us, right? How could he do this to me when he said he loved me so much? I could not take the images out of my head. I was broken and paralyzed, I think, because while the normal reaction should have been yell and shout and leave him, I just went into a depression and was too weak to take actions. He asked for marriage counseling, and for 2 years I lived in this depressed trance, and I honestly don't remember thinking of anything but my husband and his affair, seeing the images she sent me whenever I closed my eyes. After a few months and with the therapist's recommendation, he tried to get intimate with me, but it just triggered my PTSD. I was so embarrassed to give him my body when it wasn't enough for him. I felt so disgusting and ugly, and him touching me was so shameful. Like, why would he want something that wasn't enough? Something so disgusting. He tried to make me believe that I was beautiful and more than enough, and that it was him, not me, and it was never about me not being enough, but for me it was all lies and a bunch of gibberish. I knew for a fact I was disgusting, and I had proof, My husband's cheating. Well, now after 2 years, things were getting brighter. The nightmares and images started fading and individual and couples therapy did miracles. I started to love myself again and sometimes it went days without thinking of my husband's affair. We started having intercourse again after 3 years, and while the image of him with her was always there, I thought that I just had to live with it. Here is where I might be weird though. Now 5 years later, I'm fully happy, feel that I've gained back the control over my life and I put that whole ordeal behind me. At the same time now, I feel that my marriage is over, my husband is in total disarray. Why now when we are finally happy again, when I'm back to be my old self and finally is over what he did? I even forgave him, but I don't understand his confusion. For me, now I'm happy and strong again, I feel I want more. From myself, my life and from the man I share my life with, I couldn't leave when I was too weak to think properly and without bias. I could not leave when I didn't have a free will, consumed by grief. Why can't he see that it was a healthy way of thinking, not making decisions while hurting? Am I wrong here? I'm 35 now, I want to start a family, and I want to start a family with someone who would never have done this to me. Doesn't this make sense? Comment number 1. One of the greatest lines I ever heard is, "It's not that I don't forgive you, I just know better now." You can never undo the damage created by cheating on someone. Even if you learn to live with it, the relationship is forever changed. That's not what you signed up for. Facing for better or worse assumes you're doing it as a couple. Cheating violates that contract. Comment number 2. This same thing happened to me when my long-term boyfriend cheated on me. I was a shell of myself, and when I finally became confident and loved myself again, I realized the relationship was over for me. However, I'm wishing you the best of luck. Update: hey everyone, I'll make my update short, but I felt that I have to, since you asked for an update. So thank you so much for the support. Not gonna lie, these past couple of days have been very emotional for me. I don't know, but just putting my story out there and receiving all the support did a number on me. I showed my husband this post in the comments and I showed him the many drafts I made that were longer, with more details about what I went through that I didn't feel were necessary to include. He cried the whole time he was reading, especially the comments from men and women who went through the same experience. He said that he always knew how wrong he did me and that never a day went by without him thinking about how he hurt me for nothing. Now when he read how long it really took me to heal, 5 years of my life because of 1 hour of pointless intercourse, he apologized and said that couldn't give me back what he took, but he won't stand in the way of my happiness. He promised me an amicable divorce, he said he will always love me, he just requested to celebrate one last Christmas together. He is moving out after. Update number 2, I want to make this short. We celebrated one last Christmas together and then finally got divorced. My life is better now and I'm actually dating a nice guy I met at a coffee shop. Let's hope no one will ever hurt me this way again. Thank you, Reddit. And now let's move on to the next story. It starts like this. So I am a 42-year-old guy who spends way too long at work to want to deal with anybody's crap anymore. My patience is just zero for people that don't want to listen, and I spent years dealing with the annoyance that was the HOA in the neighborhood next to mine. Yes, next to mine, meaning they should not even be doing or speaking to anybody in my neighborhood, but that does not seem to stop them. I have a property that is large and right on a lake. The lake is fully within my property and some of the land on the other side of the lake is technically mine as well. I can understand at first people not fully understanding that it was not a public lake and the fact that I needed to put up signs that it was private property. For the most part that works, aside from once in a while people that just don't seem to care to read the signs, but it almost always leads to them just leaving and it not being too stressful. Being an accountant during tax season, in particular during this story, meant that I was really not wanting to deal with the crap anybody has regarding me or my property. However, the HOA was famous for starting fights with people in my neighborhood because we did not need to follow the rules they did, and it made the places look clearly different. So basically, we kept getting notices from them to please try and follow rules and other garbage like that. None of which is super important for this story, just know that they did not like to keep things within their own neighborhood like they are meant to. I knew for a fact that the HOA was very focused on my property, in particular due to the lake and a lot of open land. They had come to me before about using it for certain events, and I always told them the same thing. No, I did not want random people on my property, even if the HOA was willing to pay to rent the space for the day because I like my privacy. One day I saw a flyer near my property on one of the telephone poles where people post about lost pets or garage sales. This was talking about a big HOA barbecue party, and the address for it was listed as my house. I did not wait or think about anything and instead went right to the HOA to stop this before it even started. I did not know what they were thinking, but I was not gonna sit around and let it get this far. Going to the HOA, I saw more of the flyers basically all over the place, and I knew that everybody was going to be aware about this party. The HOA at first did not want to speak to me, so I talked to a few of the residents to see if they knew anything. All of them seemed excited, saying the HOA got them a lake and were claiming it was basically HOA property. I tried to correct people, but none seemed to want to listen. Now, I knew I had to talk to the HOA and did not leave until they spoke to me. I told them I saw the flyers and that I never agreed to let them use my property. And that I knew they were telling people the entire area was HOA property they could use at any point. The HOA president was dismissive and told me that I did not own the lake and that I needed to stop being selfish. Since I was not allowing the public lake to be used properly, the HOA was just gonna come in and enforce the rules. I tried and failed to get them to listen to the fact that I owned the lake, and in the following days up to that big event I saw more people coming to my lake and even flat out ignoring the signs I put up. Some left, but others told me that the private property signs were done by the HOA, and since they were members, it was fine. I decided to wait until the big day before I made my move so I could do something big enough to really show them that they should not mess around with me. I had very clear signs and property markers too, so that they couldn't argue ignorance about things. Over 50 cars of people showed up and were parking on my grass, setting up barbecues and going into the lake. Loud music was playing from speakers somebody brought, and I was standing there looking at the HOA board, pissed off. Some even mocked me and made sure that I knew it was the HOA's lake and I couldn't do a damn thing about it. I was waiting for the right moment, and it finally happened once the HOA board wanted to give a speech by the lake to basically talk about how awesome they were. I called a private towing company and explained that I had 50 cars illegally parked on my property and wanted them all gone. They were smart and knew that it would be a big payday for them when the people wanted the cars back. The company was not small and was able to send out 10 trucks at a time to take cars away. The HOA took so long and the tow company worked so quickly that the second round of cars was getting towed before anybody noticed. People started freaking out, and the HOA came up to me and told me that I couldn't do this, and then tried to stop the tow trucks from taking the cars. Somebody must have called the police, because they arrived and they were there when the tow trucks came back for round 3. Cops told them to hold on until we could sort this out. The HOA explained that they were having an event at the lake and it was public, so they had the right to just use it. I let the president speak because it was just gonna create a bigger hole once I showed the police what I had. At first they tried to tell me that I could not tow cars away if they were parked on the lake property. I showed them my deed, which included the fact that the lake and all the land was owned by me. Pointing out the private property signs, and explained I tried to tell the HOA when I saw the flyers, but they wouldn't listen. No more cars got towed as the police had everybody leave, and I was okay with 20 out of 50 cars getting towed and needing them to pay the company in order to get them back. People were not happy though and did not want to listen to the police about leaving, still insisting it was public property. They finally left after police started to threaten to give citations and arrests for trespassing. Nobody got arrested, but as you can imagine, people were not happy with the HOA due to the whole aftermath of things. People had to pay to get their cars back, which the HOA was refusing to help with, claiming they never told people they could park there, so it wasn't their fault. An excuse that none of the residents wanted to hear. The HOA had lost all its credibility after promising the residents a nice new place and then it turning out to be somebody else's home. I think the police also followed up with the HOA about the fact that they kept overstepping because nobody was hearing from them in my neighborhood after that happened. Basically, they were properly embarrassed, and I would not be shocked if within the next few months the HOA ends up either changing hands or being shut down completely. People are still upset, and while some blame me for calling the tow company, most of them are rightfully mad at the HOA for lying and getting them to participate in a mass trespassing. Before we end the video, let's read one last light-hearted story from r/pettyrevenge. It is titled keep leaning on me on a bus? Enjoy the floor, ma'am. So this happened recently on a semi-crowded bus. I was standing in the middle of the bus, and although there was plenty of space around me, this woman decided to stand right next to me. After a few moments, she started leaning her shoulder against mine. I politely asked her to move a little away since it was uncomfortable. I thought this was basic manners. She did, but only for a few minutes, then she came back again to use me as her human pillar. I cannot even tell how pissed I was, so I decided to take my petty revenge. Once she got comfortable using me as her support again, I suddenly took a step back without warning. She lost her balance and fell down right away. She stood up, looked at me, didn't say a word, and stood well away from me for the rest of the ride. Edit, I think I need to mention a few things. I'm a girl, a lot of you guys were thinking I'm a guy. The woman looked perfectly fine, no visible health issues. Number 3, I can tell she was not a pickpocket because my bag was on my other shoulder and she had her back against me. Number 4, the weather was hot and humid and that situation was sweaty. That's why I was more pissed off than I would have been on a normal day. And yeah guys, thank you for watching. If you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my playlist on the left because there's literally endless videos.